never got a child support check.
Were you a teenage mother?
A parent? What? I had my second child 6 days after I graduated.
Wow.
I had my daughter, I was 17 in 11th grade. I had my son 6 days after I graduated.
See, so we can relate, cuz, once again.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, like,
so
this,
when I say hard,
yeah.
like, yeah. And my mom and dad were my, they were my baby's other parent. You know, you say the baby dad. My mom and dad were my children's father.
Right, yeah.
The conglomerate of us.
I'm telling you.
Because, you know, they weren't there, like I said, you know, drug dealers. And then when I had my last baby, I was 23. And I went to jail. He was about 7 months old when I went to jail. So when I say, and then 2 years later, I lost my mom. It was like I lost so many things at one time that I didn't even have an opportunity to gather myself from going to jail and losing all these things. So now it's like, now I lost my number one supporter. Like when I say it almost drove me crazy. And in the house that we live in still today, the house that we moved in coming from the Franklin Terrace, because they banned me, we had to leave from out there. And the house she asked me to go live in with my dad is actually the house that we live in. My mom died at that house 6 months after the date that she got there and moved there. We moved there. Well, she moved there February 4th, 2002. She died there August 4th, 2002. And basically, I discovered her. So it was like, when I say devastated, like only by the grace of God, I maintained sanity and still kept going. But it was a period of time I didn't. And one of those moments was in the bathroom, you know, nervous breakdown status. And I didn't think I was coming out. You know, I was telling the kids, you know, please, like, y'all got to get away from the door. I don't want y'all to hear me screaming and crying because, like I said, this is something I didn't do in front of them.
Right.
You know, I made sure I left the house. My mourning wasn't done in front of them. I spent a lot of time at that cemetery. To keep from mourning in front of them, even my dad, because I figured what I'm going through probably couldn't even compare to what he was going through because he's been with this woman since I was 15 and 17. And at the end of the day, you know, that moment, he wasn't there. He was actually on the road. And I was in that bathroom because I ain't never been scared as far as this might be the end for me. When I say nervous breakdown, I'm talking about mental hysteria. I'm telling them, you know, like, y'all might got to call 911. You know, they might got to come get me and put a straight jacket on me because I can't do this. Like, this thing called life, I can't do this without my mom.
And your mom passed away how long from this episode that you had?
Man, from that point, probably like 3 years.
3 years, yeah.
Yeah, maybe even 4. Because
so you were just like reminiscing and it just all hit you
like,
quick?
I was living, you know, I was living with not being okay with losing her. And the one meltdown that happened, it happened. There with the kids. I locked myself in the bathroom. I'm talking about, I don't mean, you know, when people say lock themselves in the bathroom, you thinking, what, you was there for how long? A few minutes? No, I'm talking about hours. Probably like 3. Wow. And I'm telling them, you know, you might got to call 911. You know, I might need somebody to come get me in a straitjacket, you know, and they're crying. And they like, you know, just open the door. We can help you. And I'm saying, nobody can help me. Like, just give me some time. Y'all need anything? Go get it. It's okay. I need some time. But I just need some time. I'm not okay. And I was crying so hysterically, like screaming, crying. Like, I'm talking about, I was a mess. 3 hours in the bathroom. And my dad always had this paper towel rack. Any house we ever lived in, he had this paper towel rack. And it was a pen on the floor. I don't even know why the pen was on the floor because he was so
organized, clean. Yeah.
He was a military. You know, he was a Marine. Military. I know this pen ain't on my floor. That rug ain't messed up. You know, like, I know you didn't walk past this rug and didn't fix it. You know, he liable to jack us up about the rug being crooked. You know, so it was like, I don't know why the pen was on the floor, but it was like in that moment I cried about maybe the hard times that I gave my mom. You know, dealing with the men, the kind of men that I dealt with. You know, being disobedient. You know, being disobedient and being the one that went to jail. You know, me and my brother, it was night and day as far as that went. It was like growing up, you know, I was the good girl going, and then when I went to jail, I was the good girl going bad, you know? So it was like, I was the honor student and he wasn't, but I became the street runner and he was the homebody, you know? So it was like, I went to jail, and I think that shattered everything that they felt like they worked for me, for us, you know?
Yeah.
And I think in that bathroom, it was like I cried for the things that I put my mom and my dad through simultaneously, but more my mom. It was like so many things that I felt like if she knew that these things happened to me, maybe she would understand why I wasn't the good girl anymore, you know?
Yeah.
And
were you sheltered as a...
Like, they were strict. You know, it was just like, wasn't really sheltered, but they were strict. They didn't play with us. You know, and
that's exactly why a lot of teenagers or young adults, like, just go buck wild crazy
when they get out.
Once they turn adult.
Once they get out there to the streets.
As soon as they turn 18, it's like, oh, you can't tell me nothing. I'm about to do this, and that.
And that's it.
Yeah.
That's
it don't
really
make,
what it was
I
like.
believe, and this is just me personally, you can disagree or agree, but as a parent, you have to let your child experience it early. So, and, of course, pray for their safety and things like that. Yes. But you have to let them experience it early, because once they go... If you keep them sheltered, man, as soon as they turn 18, you not going to know who they is no more.
And that's how I felt.
Yeah.
It was like, I just really felt like it was some things that if I felt like if I could have told her these things, she would have had a better understanding of what was wrong with me. Maybe even be able to change some of the things that I experienced, because it was a result of this pattern of living. Yeah. Meaning, I was molested. I was raped. I was, it was so many things that I was battling and trying to protect them from at the same time.
Wow.
And so it was like in that moment, in that bathroom crying, not knowing whether or not I was going to come out, really literally leaving in the straitjacket or not. That was the test for me. But God.
Amen.
God crept in, and even still at that moment, I didn't realize that's what happened with that pen being on that floor. But on this paper towel, it was like something in my spirit was like, just write it. And I started writing. And by the time I came out that bathroom, it was like another hour later. It was a total of 3 hours. And the last hour was me really just writing on this paper, and I was still hysterically crying. So the paper towel is got all these dark, stains from the ink. And it's almost crumbled up to pieces. But I walked out. I unlocked that door, and even the kids were sitting at the door. And, I cried for them, and, I hugged them, and, I'm telling them, I'm so sorry. But I think I needed that moment, because in that moment, God revived my spirit writing whatever I wrote on this paper towel. I didn't even really know what it was that I wrote on this paper towel until my dad ended up coming. And he was like, what is happening? What's going on with you? The kids calling and they crying like, don't ever do that. And I said, sir, you don't understand. It wasn't something I was doing. Like, I really almost was gone. Like, wow. And maybe you don't understand what that means, but I said I wrote this poem. I think that's what it was, on this paper towel. And I'm going to go type it up, and I'm going to give it to you. And because I went to go type it up, it was like the next week. And my heart was so heavy behind the poem that I didn't want to give it to him. But every day he was saying, where that poem at you said you was going to give me? And finally, the day that I did, it was like, I'm going to give you this poem, and I'm going to leave the house. I said, man, the kid's going to leave. We're going to come back in a couple hours. I'm going to give you some time to read this poem so you can digest it.
Yeah.
And he said, what? And I was like, you're going to understand when you read it. And all I can tell you is it's probably the moment that shaped everything without me even being aware if it was happening.
Right.
But when I came back to that house, I called down there. I didn't just walk in the basement. It was like, sir, what you doing down there? Because I wanted to hear his voice. I felt like if I hear his voice, I'm going to know what kind of response it's about to be. And it sounded like he was crying. And it made me cry. And I sat on the stairs. I refused to go look him in his face. And it was like, he said, why didn't you ever tell us? Like, why didn't you tell us, like, all these things happened to you? Like, how? How did they even happen? Like, we took care of y'all. We was on top of y'all. And I'm saying, anytime I was out there in the street, these are the types of things that were happening to me. And so you wonder why I was rebellious, why I was hard-headed. That's what he always called me. You a hard-headed black girl. And and I was, and I was. And it wasn't so much that I wanted to be. It was so much that I was fighting against the things that I was going through, the demons that actually became a part of me. And I never even realized it because I couldn't even address it. It was like, this poem. And this moment is the moment that I felt like had the most impact for me. Because he said, write down all the names of everybody that did these things to you. All of them.
Man.
And it was in that moment. It was like I started doing it. And my spirit said, don't you do it. Don't you write them names down and give them that paper. And I couldn't even explain it. But he said, what is taking you so long? Where you at? Give me the paper. And I said, sir, God said he's going to take care of it.
That's right.
And he said, what? I'm going to take care of it. And I said, no, God told me I can't do it. He's going to take care of it. And I can't even explain how I felt that way, being honest.
Yeah.
But that's what my spirit said. It's okay.
And I could tell you right now, because if your dad would have took care of it, one, because it's a physical situation where he's being a protector.
Absolutely.
Which is totally understandable. However, it's going to either end up with him.
It would have been all bad.
Exactly. It would have been straight destructive.
It would have been destruction.
But then there would have been a chance that either he could have died in that situation or he'd be in jail.
Yeah, and lost his soul.
Yep.
That was the whole thing for me.
Exactly.
So it was like, when, so for a couple of days he said, why you won't give me the paper? And I said, I refuse to allow you to lose your soul over me.
Right.
Like, you want to be with my mom, and I refuse to be the person to block it.